G'day everybody, it's Mike from Gaming here. We're about to host a Pickett's Charge Megagame this weekend at Charlton, and this video is our kind of take on making some changes to Pickett's Charge to make it work better with a whole bunch of players who are fairly inexperienced with the game. Right, so as a player, you're going to have a brigade. Now, in the standard rules, you have a bit more than a brigade, but in our version, you're going to have a brigade, and that'll be how we work. Brigade consists of a brigade commander, right, and then a certain number of brigade units, which are basically blocks of infantry, right, and artillery batteries, which each artillery battery is 2 gun models, whether it's a 4 or a 6 gun battery. In terms of the infantry formations, we have small formations, which have 2 stands. We have normal formations, which are 4 stands, and then we have large formations, right, which are rated, or which are given 6 stands. Now, each of the formations also has a rating, whether they're green or veterans and so on. There's no way to tell on the tabletop what's what. That's one of the reasons why you're only commanding a brigade. You probably have 4 to 6 units that you need to keep track of, and that's going to be up to the honour system for you to keep track of it. Now, in terms of deployment, we use blinds, and so a blind is one of these little markers which has been made by Battlefield Accessories. The idea of these is this represents the approximate position of up to 2 units on the table. So in this formation here, I have got 5 units, so 1, 2, 3, 4 infantry regiments plus an artillery battery, right? So I would have 3 blinds to represent that force, plus a d6 additional. So if I just randomly roll a 6, which I knew I was going to do that, let's say I randomly rolled a 4, because that's how many of these I've got. So this would be my actual force that I deploy on the tabletop. So the figures are going to sit over on the side. I'll just do that now, just so you can see that happen. So I'll just get rid of these guys for the moment. And so the only figures you're going to put on the table is your brigade commander, because that's representing you, and these blinds. Now on the back of them, they've got little white stickers, right, which you're going to write on what units are actually under that blind. So for example, if this is a battery and a large regiment, then you'll secretly write that underneath, and then you'll put that there like it's marching forward to victory, right? And then I'll arrange all of my units with my additional blinds, so I can play a bit of ducks and drakes with my opponent. So I can stack, 3 columns marching up the road plus an extended line over here. Now my opponent doesn't know which one's which, and as I start maneuvering them up the board, right, I'm going to have to second guess, or my opponent's going to be second guessing what they are. Now there are rules for revealing these things once they come into proximity of each other. The other thing you can do is that your general can actually get his binoculars out and as a command action try and spot an opposing blind and to reveal the figures that are there. Okay, so on the day there'll be rules about how the blinds actually work, but for the moment, when we do the initial deployment, we just do blinds. Blinds move a set amount, which from memory is 12 inches. I'll just check that so I'm not telling lies. So yep, all blinds move 12 inches, right? And so basically independent of terrain. So even though we're going to say batteries can't move through woods, right, unless they're on a road, batteries on a blind can do whatever they like, so they're not actually, so your opponent can't tell what's on the blinds on them. So what this does is allows the initial part of the game to move quite quickly, because we're not bothering mucking around with figures. Okay, the rule though is once you deploy on the table, is part of the formation must be inside one of the blinds, right, and the other bit of the formation must be within 3 inches or 3 or 4 inches of that other unit. So basically, if this was my large unit and I get to deploy it, so I'm going to then whack that out here like this. Now I'm going to put that a little bit in front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because it's a large unit. And let's just say, for argument's sake, I also had included the small unit in there. So the small unit is in the spot where the blind was, the larger unit's rippled out in front of that. right? So I can have a mix of blinds and deployed troops on the table. The other thing too, if you want to actually tell your opponent where your troops are, you can. You don't have to use the blinds at all. You can just put your gun line and all of your infantry out there right at the start, so as your opponent's not guessing, they know where your strength is. That's up to your strategy of play. So I'm just going to whack the rest of these units on the table. Now, line of sight is a thing, right? So the woods are going to block line of sight out beyond 2 inches, so you need to be careful to not deploy your guns so they're facing into the trees. That will make things problematic for you. Okay, so the major change between Pickett's charge and what we're going to do is that in Pickett's charge, as a commander, you would have generally 2 to 3 sizes of this formation that you're looking after yourself, right? So you would command 3 brigades, and you would have a divisional commander who would then be giving orders out to each of the brigades. Now, we did a play test of this at the League of Ancients in Melbourne, and it got a bit unwieldy with that many inexperienced players and lots of moving parts. So what we decided is we're going to take the game down a level, and so we're going to treat your divisional commander as your brigade commander. And so the special effects and rules that apply in normal Pickett's charge to your division, so you would say, okay, the 2nd brigade is going to be on this order, right, now applies at this level. And so what that means is this. In the rules where it talks about staff officer taskings, we're not going to use staff officers. What we're going to do is assume he is your staff officer. So for example, artillery assault fire, if I want to do that, then what I'll do is I'll take my brigade commander and I'll attach him to the battery, and he's going to issue that intensive artillery to that battery. Right? So if I had 4 guns here, I couldn't do all 4 of them. Basically, it's saying that your brigade commander, so you are going over to that particular battery, grabbing hold of it and telling them exactly what to do and when to fire, etc. If I want to do a double quick move, which basically allows a unit to do an extra 4d6 movement, I'm basically going to grab hold of the unit and order it to go charging up the field. So what it's going to do is it means your whole brigade's not going to go at once, but one regiment. So for example, if you needed to capture these woods over here, then you grab hold of this regiment and you go, right, double quick, let's get over there and hold that ground. Okay, so on the quick reference chart, which I'll get Marcus to post on the Mallee page, right, all of the things that you see as staff officer taskings are now becoming brigade officer taskings. Okay, there's one exception. The way that this game works, and we've got some markers for this, so here's this one here that says hesitant or obeying orders or under orders, right? So every time you go to pick a formation to use, in this case you only have one formation, it's this, you roll a dice to determine whether it's active or whether it's a little bit worried about what's going on in the battle. To do that, you roll, in the standard game, you roll a 6-sided dice, and anything but a 1 or a 2, so a 3, 4, 5 or 6 means the brigade is under orders, right? And you can basically do whatever you like with it within the scope of the rules. If you roll a 1 or a 2, the brigade becomes hesitant, right? And it basically can't do anything other than can do short range fire, and it can withdraw, but no advancing, no trendy moves and stuff. Basically what's happening is that there's a momentary lull, they're not sure what's going on, and they're waiting for the next turn to come around. So, to get around one of the mechanisms, which is brigade officer reroll, what we're allowing to do is every time you roll for your brigade activation where your brigade commander is not doing anything else, you roll 2 dice, right? And you just got to pass on one of them. So in essence, for those Pickett charge kind of aficionados out there, you're getting your reroll always. If you decide that your brigade commander is going to go and grab this unit here, right, then you only roll 1 dice for the brigade. Now, in playtesting, what we've decided is special. So, for example, if you wanted these guys to do a double quick and the brigade became hesitant, this unit can still do the double quick because your brigade commander is actually out the front waving his sword, leading them in the direction they want to go. Similarly with artillery assault fire, they can still do those things. So basically, a hesitant is applying to the brigade, right? But the special that you're activating, right, is going to override that for that one particular unit that you've done. Okay, in terms of the actual scenario we'll be playing, Right, so we're playing a Shiloh themed game, so there'll be a number of large approach runs. The Confederate players will be basically trying to battle up those boards as quickly as possible, and the Union players, operating under from some fairly tight restrictions in terms of forces, are going to be trying to defend that. Time is of the essence if you're a Confederate. Okay, so here at BA Gaming, in association with the Peninsula Praetorians, we've been doing quite a lot of playtesting on this game. We think it's kind of ready to go, and we're looking for a great game this weekend. If you just happen to be in Charlton, Victoria over the course of the weekend of the 30th of June 2023, then stop in to the Charlton Community Centre and come and have a look at a massive 28mm game going on.